Welcome into another Purple Insider Extra. Jonathan Harrison here, once again joined by Purple Insider's Matthew Coller. 2 weeks ago, Coller, the Vikings engineered their 8th comeback win of the season and their 11th one-score victory of the season. It was a 27-24 win over the New York Giants, in which Daniel Jones had probably his best game of the season. Now it looks like the Vikings and Giants will meet once again at US Bank Stadium, but this time in the NFC wildcard round. How different will that game be from the one we saw 2 weeks ago at US Bank Stadium?
Well, it is a week-to-week league. I don't know if you've ever heard that, Jonathan. So on any given Sunday, if I can work every cliche in, they can have a different result from what happened at US Bank Stadium. But I think that the biggest difference is really the health of the Minnesota Vikings offensive line, where their last matchup against the New York Giants included Brian O'Neill, who's one of the best right tackles in the NFL. I think he's got a case for being the best right tackle. He's certainly one of the most consistent week in and week out, excellent players at his position. And now the Vikings aren't sure whether it's going to be Blake Brandel or Oli Udoh, but either way, those guys cannot hold a candle, as most backups can't, to Brian O'Neill. And that changes a lot of things because the New York Giants have an excellent pass rush. They have a very good defensive line, and they also blitz like crazy. And that's one of the things you want to do when your opponent has a backup offensive lineman in there, is to try to make it as complicated and as tricky as you possibly can. Not only is Brian O'Neill going to be out, but with Austin Schlottmann's injury and the status of Garrett Bradbury unclear, and Kevin O'Connell could not say for sure whether they thought that Garrett Bradbury would be able to play come playoff time. So if it's Chris Reed, he is a career guard who was forced into play center. And of course he had a tough time because he's a career guard. He's not a center, and he had to be thrown in at Lambeau Field. So he'll have a couple of weeks to practice, but that's not anything like having Garrett Bradbury, who has been Kirk Cousins' center for several years now. And those two are very much on the same page when it comes to the calls and the checks and all the things that they have to do. And now they have to scramble. So the offensive line health being different is a problem. And also the Giants got to look at a team that actually slowed down Justin Jefferson. And I don't think that this is a blueprint or that teams are going to figure it out, but maybe just in terms of having a slightly better plan than getting completely roasted by Justin Jefferson would be enough of an improvement for the way that the Giants played. So they'll both have ways to make adjustments. But the thing is that even if the Vikings try to adjust on defense to what they did last time against Daniel Jones, they haven't really stopped anybody. I mean, whether it was Jones or Mike White or Andy Dalton early in the season, I mean, this defense is now one of the worst in the entire NFL. So I think that it is advantage Giants from having to see the Vikings. But you could also say that, if you compare, say, the Giants to playing against the Packers or the Lions, you might pick the Giants out of that lineup because one team has Aaron Rodgers, the other has the 4th best offense in the NFL. And overall, still, Daniel Jones is an unproven quarterback. He's never shown that he could go into the playoffs. He hasn't done that yet. Jared Goff has. Aaron Rodgers has. Both of those two guys have led teams to the Super Bowl. Daniel Jones has no playoff experience. Coming into US Bank Stadium will be difficult. So I think that it's a fairly favorable draw for the Vikings, but because one of the biggest strengths of the Giants is their defensive line, it certainly makes it a little tougher than it was a couple of weeks ago when they beat the Giants at US Bank Stadium.
That's been another Purple Insider Extra for Bring Me the Sports. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Purple Insider Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Talk to you next time.